everyone. Welcome to our special edition of Arirang News on this New Year's Eve. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Shin Se-min.
Good of you to choose Arirang to usher in 2018. This is Daniel Choi.
Normally, I'm not up this late at night, but you never want to miss out on welcoming a new year. And then for the next hour, we will be looking back at the highlights and some of the low points of this year. And we're about to bid adieu to.
We appreciate you fighting off the Sandman to be here with us. Before we dive right into our lineup, let's begin by first checking on how people here in Korea are prepping to wrap up their year, as we're exactly half an hour away from welcoming in a brand new one.
And let's get a sense of what it's like outside of the studio, more specifically the traditional Bosingak Pavilion, where the annual bell ringing ceremony is taking place.
And for that, we connect to our Kim Hye-sung, standing by there for us tonight, braving the cold. Hye-sung, we hope there's enough BTUs of heat to keep you warm there with all the people out there. Do give us a sense of what the festivity you're soaking in there right now.
Hi guys, so we're getting closer and closer to 2018, and behind me is the pavilion, is the Bosingak Pavilion, and the bell ringing ceremony will take place in less than 30 minutes. And around 100,000 people have gathered here to celebrate the new year with friends and families. I got a chance to speak with some of them. Take a listen.
Wow, I know it's like based, it's very historical. It's been going on for a very long time. We expect a big celebration, maybe a countdown in Korean, and bringing in the new year in a really good way.
We're athletes and we've achieved our goals for 2017. We wanted to wrap up the year with the crowd. For the upcoming year, we will continue to practice hard and hopefully become champions in dance sports.
And the excitement is probably contagious over there as the crowd grows.
So some of our viewers may not be familiar with the annual event, so do shower us with more details.
Hi guys, the ceremony has actually just begun. It's going to be a night full of performances, including a rock band. And of course, the highlight of today's ceremony is the bell ringing ceremony that kicks off at midnight. It holds a special meaning here in Korea. The bell was built in the 14th century, and the bell will be rung 33 times, wishing prosperity and peace for the nation and its people. 5 city government officials, including the Seoul mayor and 11 citizen representatives, will ring the bell. They include 89-year-old Lee Yong-soo, who actively spoke out about her experience during Japan's colonial rule of Korea as one of the so-called comfort women, and Korea-Nigeria model Han Hyun-min. One thing to note, traffic around the area will be restricted between 11 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. And public transportation, including subways, will be running up until 2 a.m. to accommodate those who are visiting. That's all for now, and I'll be connecting with you guys again later as we approach midnight. Back to you guys.
It's going to be pandemonium as we approach midnight. I thank you for being out there for us, Hye-sung. We appreciate it. Now, in the domestic political arena, it was an unprecedented transition period for South Korea.
And the biggest change came from the nation's top office of Cheongwade. Bold expose, peaceful protest driven by informed and disappointed public led to the removal of a scandal-ridden former president.
And the follow-up process was swift, with a snap election that resulted in an expected landslide victory for Liberal candidate Moon Jae-in.
From day one, it was clear what sets him apart from his predecessors, but through much of the year, he had his hands full normalizing Seoul's domestic and international state affairs.
Everyone at Arirang News was focused on keeping the world up to date on the rapid developments in that realm, of course. And kept busier than ever in that respect was our Cheongwade correspondent, Hwang Ho-jun.
And here he is with a review of 2017 at the presidential office of Cheongwade.
This is where it all began. Around a year ago, a series of mass candlelight protests took place here at Gwanghwamun Square. People cried out for change, calling for the resignation of the then President Park Geun-hye over corruption charges. And through the so-called candlelight revolution, which the international community called a model of peaceful exercise of democratic participation, came the birth of a new administration.
Park's presidency was terminated as the Constitutional Court upheld the parliament's impeachment vote in a unanimous decision. And 62 days later, the Liberal leader was elected.
2017년 5월 10일 오늘 대한민국이 다시 시작합니다. 나라를 나라답게 만드는 대역사가 시작됩니다.
President Moon didn't have the luxury of a transition team and was sworn into office just hours after the election results were announced to face the overwhelming challenge and pressure of unifying a divided nation and normalizing state affairs. The Moon administration came up with 5 key policy goals: a government in the hands of the people, an economy that guarantees a better life for all, a country that takes care of its people, balanced development across regions, and a peaceful and prosperous Korean peninsula. Displaying his intention to be a people-centered president, he pushed for a supplementary budget worth about $9.8 billion to create quality jobs and improve job market conditions.
그러나 그보다 더 주목해 주시기를 바라는 것은 일자리 추경의 절박성과 시급성입니다.
The president invited the families of the victims of the Seoul ferry disaster to the Blue House and offered his personal apologies to them on behalf of the government. He also invited leaders of the ruling and opposition parties to the Blue House in the spirit of bipartisanship and to seek cooperation among the government and the ruling and opposition parties. On a national level, the administration has pushed to root out corruption in the defense industry, as well as revamp the intelligence agency and the prosecution, both of which have long been accused of political bias. The Blue House also enforced strict moral codes when nominating new top officials. Any candidates who had dodged military service, evaded taxes, made speculative property trades, falsely reported their address, plagiarized their thesis, committed sex crimes, or held prior DUIs would be deemed unfit. For the first 100 days, President Moon's approval rating hovered around 80%, and it has been in the high 60s in recent weeks. There were, however, obstacles along the way. Even with the strict moral code, a handful of President Moon's nominees for high governmental positions failed to get Parliament's endorsement, resulting in President Moon completing his cabinet 195 days after the launch of his administration. Provocations from North Korea have put another damper on state affairs. Pyongyang has conducted a total of 11 missile launches and its largest nuclear test yet since President Moon entered office. The South Korean president condemned North Korea for its continuing threats, but also urged the regime to come to the table for dialogue. Seoul's pursuit of a peaceful resolution to the issue of North Korea was reflected through President Moon visiting 7 countries, hosting 3 state visits, and attending some 40 bilateral summit talks and several multilateral meetings during his short time as president.
그런 만큼 자칫 지나치게 긴장을 격화시키거나 우발적인 군사적 충돌로 평화가 파괴되는 일이 없도록 북핵 문제를 둘러싼 상황을 안정적으로 관리해 나가야 할 것입니다.
To realize the government's ultimate goal, a peaceful and prosperous peninsula, the president said a firm basis for bilateral and multilateral cooperation is necessary. So the Moon administration, while still putting great significance on its relations with the 4 key powers, the US, China, Japan, and Russia, has also sought to expand South Korea's diplomatic horizon, engaging with Eurasia and Southeast Asia through what President Moon calls the New Northern and New Southern policies. Coming back from his latest state visit to China, President Moon pledged to continue to practice a pragmatic and balanced diplomacy while prioritizing South Korea's national interest and its people.
Eventful would be an understatement of what 2017 was like for the president and his administration. Going into the new year, President Moon will have to show that his efforts so far to bring together a divided nation and establish a peaceful and prosperous peninsula are not just temporary. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Back in March, Korea's Constitutional Court upheld the impeachment of Park Geun-hye. Immediately ousted, she became the first ever democratically elected president to be removed in that fashion.
Indicted and detained, the disgraced leader remains behind bars on charges of receiving bribes, abuse of power, and divulging state secrets. The trials continue. Park still very much uncooperative, and our Kim Min-ji walks us through the developments thus far.
On March 10th, the Constitutional Court upheld a parliamentary motion to impeach then-President Park Geun-hye for involvement in the massive corruption scandal that shook the country, putting an end to months of candlelight protests and starting a new chapter in the political crisis. It all started after reports that a close confidant of the president, Choi Soon-sil, had access to confidential government documents as well as edited drafts of presidential speeches, despite having no official position within the top office or government. The Constitutional Court said Park had broken the law by allowing Choi to meddle in state affairs and had breached guidelines by leaking secret state documents.
We announced the decision as the unanimous opinion of all judges. We dismissed the defendant, President Park Geun-hye.
Park became the first South Korean president to be thrown out of office and lost her immunity from prosecution, facing an official investigation into her role in the corruption scandal. She was arrested on March 31st and indicted the following month on 18 charges, including bribery and abuse of power. Her trial began in May, but on most occasions she boycotted the sessions and refused to be questioned by prosecutors. After her detention period was extended for another 6 months in October, Park claimed she was a victim of political revenge.
Obviously, on Park's part, she will feel as though she's falsely accused, but so does everyone else in the detention center. But she's the former president. She needs to show up at her trial hearings and abide by the law. Boycotting them isn't the action she should be taking. It seems as though she will be given a jail sentence of between 20 and 30 years. This scandal needs to come to a close too. It has taken a huge social cost on the country. It took a year to remove her from office and elect a new government.
As for the woman at the center of it all, Choi Soon-sil, prosecutors are pushing for a prison term of 25 years and a fine of some $109 million and forfeit of $7.1 million. She's accused of meddling in state affairs as well as exploiting her ties to Park to extort over $72 million from local conglomerates. That led to the detention or summoning of the country's top business leaders, including Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong. Firms in question have admitted to making payments to two foundations run by Choi, but denied they received favors in return. As for Samsung, prosecutors accuse Lee Jae-yong of approving payments and gifts in order to win government support for a controversial merger of two Samsung units that paved the way for him to eventually head the group. A string of Park's former aides as well as senior figures in government ministries have also been put behind bars. By early next year, it's expected that those involved in the scandal will have their fate decided. Although the actual verdict remains to be seen, the general consensus is that the court won't be too lenient given the public sentiment over the scandal.
The candlelight protests showed who's in charge of the country and the government, the people. People took to the streets wanting an end to the blacklisting of those critical of the administration, and in protest against organs of power meddling in politics. This shows that Koreans can once again take to the streets when the government does not reflect the needs and wants of the people and acts out of its own interest.
Pundits say in order to curb further abuse of power and prevent such incidents from happening again, the Constitution must be revised to reduce the power of the commander-in-chief. But for now, the focus is the verdict for the ousted leader, who remains tight-lipped on her allegations only to deny them, leaving more questions than answers. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
North Korea, as well as other foreign affairs and national security-related stories, are what we'll be focusing on next. To help us dissect all the events in those realms that made 2017 unique into digestible little bites, we have our defense correspondent Oh Jung-hee and Kwon Jang-ho from the Foreign Ministry with us. Guys, thank you for sacrificing your party hours to be here with us at this hour.
Great to be here.
Now, we saw tensions on the Korean Peninsula brewing to another level, a level that we have not seen before, and with the changes, especially with the leadership of the countries involved. And this is where you come in, Chung-hee. What was some of the biggest and the big North Korea-related news this year?
Well, Semin, before that, here are the numbers. North Korea conducted 1 nuclear test and 15 missile tests this year, firing 20 in total. Now, that's less than in 2016, but I'd say that this year's provocations were bolder and more daring. If we look at last year's missile launches, they had maximum range of 3,000 kilometers, putting the U.S. territory of Guam within reach. But this year, Pyongyang's missiles reached higher and higher altitudes. If fired at a normal trajectory, the latest Hwasong-15 missile is seen to have gone a lot further, up to 13 or 14,000 kilometers, putting whole continental United States within reach. After that test, Pyongyang claimed it was a successful one and that the regime has completed its weapons program. But we can't take the claim at face value. Many see there are more to be proven, like the weight of nuclear warhead and the missile re-entry technology.
The ever-enigmatic North Korea, they will always be that way. Now, the international community responded, tightening the news further. The United Nations adopting strongest ever sanctions on Pyongyang. Chang-ho, do help us recap how the world tried to force a positive turnaround from the reclusive regime.
Sure. So the United Nations adopted 3 new resolutions on North Korea this year. That's the most in any given year up to date so far. Now, they're also the strongest ever, as you mentioned. And to briefly list you some of the sanctions, all coal exports from the regime have been banned, as well as textiles, food products, iron, and other metals and minerals. Imports of petroleum products were also slashed by 90%, as well as a cap on crude oil. Dozens of individuals and firms have been added to the international blacklist as well. Now, experts say we are starting to see some signs that they're having an effect within the regime. North Korean state media, for example, reports are also warning that the public to brace for economic difficulties. But so far, it's too early to tell how well they're working. And with recent reports that say China and Russia have been secretly supplying oil at sea, there'll be more calls for all parties to enforce them more strictly.
And tensions escalating to levels we've not seen before on the Korean Peninsula, and definitely U.S. President Donald Trump, who came into the office early this January, has arguably had a big hand in fanning those flames in the Korean Peninsula. And his brand of diplomacy towards North Korea and its leader Kim Jong-un was something that we had not seen before.
Yes, very much so. I mean, one expert I talked to, he pointed out that there hasn't been this much talk of war since the Korean War in the 1950s. I mean, North Korea has always threatened to destroy the US. I mean, that's perhaps nothing new. But for the leader of the US to promise fire and fury, as Trump did earlier this year, is unprecedented. However, I would point out that although tensions have heightened, the general consensus is that we're still very far away from an actual all-out conflict. There's been lots of words, but no tangible movements as of yet.
Now, Chung-hee, we're going to turn back to you. 2018, which directions are most North Korean watchers leaning towards? More pressure from the international community proving to be fruitful, or faster than expected weapons developments in North Korea?
Well, Daniel, there is speculation that the regime could halt its provocations, at least for temporarily, because it has claimed that its weapons program is complete. And eyes are also on Kim Jong-un's New Year's speech to be released tomorrow, because it could give us a hint on what direction North Korea would take next year. Experts that I've talked to think that Kim could declare the North as a nuclear state and try to start peaceful dialogue with surrounding countries. But if that fails and the international community holds on to tough sanctions against the regime, it'll only provoke the regime for more provocative actions, like more tests of ICBMs or submarine-launched ballistic missiles, or even a 7th nuclear test.
What the North calls a completion is actually about 90% complete, not 100%. There's more stages Pyongyang has to go through to diversify its missiles and actually deploy them. The North could also go on to develop solid fuel missiles and SLBMs.
And Chang-ho, Seoul's role in perhaps reigning in North Korea looks to change with a new, relatively young liberal leader now in place. President Moon offered both carrot and stick to Pyongyang, while also juggling a different style of diplomacy coming from Washington. What sort of diplomacy are we looking at from Seoul on Pyongyang, and how do we anticipate things to shape up in the new years?
So when Moon Jae-in got to work at the top office in May, there was an attempt to shift away from the previous hardline stance on North Korea. They tried to reach out to Pyongyang, offering to open talks and provide aid. But all those offers have been rebuffed or simply ignored. If North Korea continues its provocations, Seoul has said they will continue to push for further sanctions and pressure. But I think we can also expect the Moon administration to be bolder in their plans to engage with the North as well. As Chung-hee said, we will have to watch Kim Jong-un's New Year address and other factors such as whether they decide to send athletes for the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics in February as well, to see whether they'll be more open to dialogue in the new year.
Hope springs eternal that some degree of sports diplomacy could help thaw things between the two Koreas. Now, Jung-Hee, while we have plenty of stories related to the Hermit Kingdom this year, there's none more dramatic than the daring crossing by a low-ranking North Korean soldier. There's even footage of that, probably one of the most watched clips online. Do fill us in on the terrifying escape that almost cost the young man his life.
That's right, Daniel. Actually, we've seen quite a lot of North Korean soldiers cross through the military demarcation line and defect to the south. But you're right. Indeed, that defection in November was, of course, the most dramatic one we saw in history. And that's because it happened at the joint security area where the soldiers from the two Koreas stand face to face. Now, just to give our viewers a brief update, the soldier is alive. He's going through the rehabilitation process and he's being investigated by the military and intelligence authorities. Other than him, we saw 3 more soldiers defect to South Korea by crossing over the inter-Korean border, the most recent one taking place just 10 days ago. Pundits say this isn't really a sign that the Kim Jong-un regime is unstable, but just cases of defection happening intermittently with soldiers who've caused problems within their units or who've been influenced by South Korea's anti-Pyongyang broadcasts at the border.
And also this year, looking back, there has been an upgrade in South Korea's defense capabilities. Seoul deployed the U.S. THAAD anti-missile defense system in South Korea. Unfortunately, even if it was a choice made out of necessity, that decision was not being taken generously by China. It was very perceived differently in Beijing, leading to frayed Seoul-Beijing relations.
That's right. The THAAD battery became fully operational in early September, and that's after Pyongyang carried out its 6th nuclear test. THAAD is a U.S.-made missile defense system capable of intercepting incoming missiles from North Korea, which complements the current Patriot missile defense system. China is worried that the THAAD radar can gather intelligence on its military, and so it's been strongly opposed to it and has retaliated all year long against South Korea for deploying the system. Beijing banned group tours and reduced flights to South Korea and imposed stricter customs regulations on South Korean products. Now, Lotte was the one that had to suffer the most for offering the land to station the THAAD battery. Businesses of 24 Lotte-owned companies came to a halt in China. South Korea and China agreed in late October to put the row behind them and move on, but it still remains to be seen whether it's truly over, since China has been quite capricious in lifting and imposing bans on group tours to South Korea.
Capricious would be an understatement. We will hope for the best and keep our fingers crossed. Well, Chang-wook, taking a sidestep to talk about another variable in Northeast Asian diplomacy, one of the biggest stories of the year came just this week. We're talking about a special government task force who released a very critical review of the 2015 Seoul-Tokyo landmark deal on Japan's wartime sex slavery issue. Bilateral relationship is once again hanging in the balance.
That's right. The main criticism of the review was that there wasn't enough involvement from the victims of the Japanese wartime sex slavery themselves. I mean, President Moon described it as deeply flawed and said that follow-up measures need to be taken. What the issue now is, what will those follow-up measures be? Some have called for the agreement to be ripped apart altogether, but Tokyo have stated that they have no intention of renegotiating. There is so much friction currently that Prime Minister Shinzo Abe may even snub Seoul's offer to come to the Olympics next February. There doesn't seem to be an easy fix to this, and this will be a real test of the administration's diplomatic capabilities to navigate this issue going into 2018. But we always have to keep in mind the victims here. There are only 32 publicly registered survivors alive today, and their average age is over 90. Seoul will be under pressure to find some sort of resolution to bring them some peace before it's too late.
All right, guys, we'll be looking forward to Chang-woo and Jung-hee filling us in and keeping us updated on these issues and more. Thank you so much for being in the studio with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was nice to be here.
대통령 박근혜를 파면한다.
대통령 문재인.
올해 쳐 있었던 그 광화문 촛불 집회하고 문재인 대통령님 대선 있었던 게 기억에 남는데 저도 이제 학생이지만 내가 참여를 할 수 있다는 것도 알게 됐고 앞으로 사회인이 돼서 나아가서도 우리나라의 발전을 위해서 내가 좀 더 관심을 가져야겠다라는 그런 생각을 갖게 됐어요.
최근에 충북 제천 그 화재 사건이 굉장히 마음에 많이 아프고 가족이 겪은 것처럼 제 마음이 너무 많이 힘들었었어요.
집을 장만을 했어요. 사실 은행에서 빌린 돈이어가지고 부담 아닌 부담도 있었지만 그래도 열심히 벌면서 갚으면 내 집이 되니까 그래도 되게 뿌듯했어요.
조금 아팠습니다. 아픈 해고 제가 인생에 이제 전환점이 되고 좀 불행에서 행복을 이제 시작한 그 발길을 같아요.
고3이라서 이게 공부한다 좀 정신이 없었거든요. 뭔가 홀가분하기도 한데 되게 시간이 빨리 지나간 것 같아서 좀 아쉽기도 하고 좀 더 열심히 하면 더 좋은 곳을 갔을까라는 생각도 했다가
취업을 준비하고 있었는데 한 1년 정도 공부를 열심히 해서 어저께 취업 합격 통보를 받아가지고 되게 한 해를 좋게 마무리한 것 같습니다.
남편이랑 세 식구 유럽 여행 다녔었거든요. 그때 정말 너무너무 좋았어요.
목표를 세웠습니다. 그게 5가지였었는데 오늘까지 5가지 목표를 다 달성을 했고 이제 2018년도에 다시 계획을 세울 겁니다.
You know, Sam, in 2017 just flashed by.
It did.
Like a breeze, like a flash, but so much happened. So many ups and downs, and it feels like even though it passed by quickly, I think it was because we were deeply involved and immersed in everything that was going on. In a good sense, it was good. It was a good year for news providers like you and I, because we were kept so linked with the public and busy with the work and being very appreciative of it. And I understand some of the excitement we can expect later when the clock strikes midnight is some fireworks, right? Pyrotechnics.
Yes. The fireworks at the Lotte World Tower in southern Seoul, where they will be firing off 15,000 pyrotechnics for 555 seconds.
Right,
which
so many meanings put into those numbers, especially number 5.
And also, while that's also taking place, we also ring in with a traditional bell ringing ceremony at Bosingak Pavilion in Chonglo, where our Kim Hae-sung is on standby. The countdown begins. We are now seconds and minutes away from ringing in the new year. And let's cut right back to our Kim Hae-sung at the Bosingak Pavilion for the bell ringing ceremony. Hae-sung.
Hey guys, the atmosphere here is pretty much just electric. Some 100,000 people are here at Bosingak Pavilion to usher in the new year despite the freezing temperature. The bell, which was built in the 14th century, will be rung 33 times, wishing prosperity and peace for the nation and its people. But that's not it. Music performances, including a rock band, is lined up to entertain those out here. And, of course, a speech by Seoul Mayor Park Won-soon is also lined up. And public transportation will be running up until 2 a.m. for those making their way back home. So we have only 1 minute left till the countdown begins to usher in the new year. You can see right there. So the countdown is almost set to start. So once again, Happy New Year's to you guys as we have only 1 minute left.
It's an exciting time for everyone right now, and I think it must be crazy out there.
It is.
From Bosingak Pavilion. Back to you guys.
Have you been to the pavilion, at the Bosingak Pavilion, when we were about to ring the bell anytime in the past?
I was. Exactly 2 years ago, I was there in Hae-sung's spot delivering you the countdown for a new year. And I think we did.
We're connecting there right now. It's quite suffocating, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun because you are with your fellow Koreans and counting down. 3,
2, 1.
Well, this is where we wish everyone watching a Happy New Year, and a Happy New Year to you too, Semin.
Happy New Year to you, Daniel.
And we are grateful for a wonderful year we've had with everyone here at Arirang News and Arirang TV, our wonderful cast, our wonderful producers, writers, and of course everyone involved, including our cameraman. And we're looking at what you just mentioned about all the digits that was involved, the 555s, the Lotte World Tower in Seoul.
Right, Korea's tallest building, in fact, Lotte World Tower, lighting up Seoul's skyline on New Year's Eve with countless number of fireworks there.
It's quite a sight. We usually wait for a whole year just to get out our mats out there in Yeouido Park, just Hangang Park, to watch the fireworks there. This is quite a treat because I don't know what it is, but Koreans have a craving for some excitement and dazzling light shows on the outdoors. And here we have the bell ringing ceremony with Seoul Mayor Park Won-soon.
Yes, and I think one of the dignitaries picked up to strike the old Bosingak bell includes one of those two mascots, bear mascots and tiger mascots for the Pyeongchang Winter Games, and now we're cutting back to
Arirang is there to ring it with us.
Yes.
Quite a big fan base they have there. I understand they were giving out high fives, and kids were excited, including adults, just to be able to be a part of the celebrity that's surrounded by them. The fireworks are going on for quite a while, and judging by how high that skyscraper is, the amount of fireworks that's on display, that must have cost Lotte Group quite a hefty bit of their budget there.
It does, and it also may start another event, and an annual event that they may go on just like they do in Bosingak Pavilion.
Right, let's move on to other stories that we've got lined up for you at this hour. We will be taking a look at how Pyeongchang Winter Olympics is, of course, a big highlight for South Korea, and we are excited about, as we have seen two of the biggest mascots, goodbye Hodori, hello Suorang and Pandabi.
Yes,
right.
Striking the old pavilion.
The spotlight grabbers these days.
Yes, the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics is drawing more anticipation, with prominent networks even including it in their top list of noticeable events for 2018. And the Alpine city is prepped and ready to welcome athletes and spectators from around the world. And the task at hand is creating more buzz.
More buzz, definitely, and which is why the government's employing a variety of methods to make sure we don't just tell the world about the games, but rather show them how amazing it will be. Cha Sang-mi zooms in on the brilliant marketing strategies we have.
This is the newly remodeled Gangneung Station. It opened on December 22nd and now connects some of the Pyeongchang Olympic venues with the Korean capital, Seoul. As a part of Pyeongchang's Cultural Olympics, Korea's Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism is hosting an exhibition of art banners at the station under the Olympic slogan, All Connected.
I'm taking a picture of these banners because they look amazing. The drawings and the cheer slogans are impressive, and just as the banners say, I hope the Olympics will be successful.
The ministry selected 2018 art pieces and messages of support related to Pyeongchang 2018, and it's displayed numbers in the station to leave a good impression on its visitors.
We are putting on the Arts Banner exhibition before Pyeongchang 2018 begins. Passengers who come to Gangneung Station are all satisfied. Our marketing technique using sophisticated art pieces has been successful.
Following on the cultural marketing in Pyeongchang, the Korea Tourism Organization has organized a memorable campaign at Seoul's Dongdaemun Design Plaza for visitors from around the world to actually take part in. The Sangsang Stadium contains 2,017 figurines of real people from 114 different countries worldwide.
I didn't know so many countries participated in the Olympics, or that the Pyeongchang Olympics are drawing such an international interest.
One spot's been left empty on purpose so that the visitor can edit in their own photo and make it complete.
You can imagine you're one of the 2018 cheering supporters at this miniature replica of the Olympic Plaza.
This unique promotion employs a state-of-the-art technology, 3D printing.
We had installed 3D printing booths twice in the past for this campaign, one in the Seoul neighborhood of Insadong and the other in London. We wanted this to be an impressive campaign.
I'm fascinated by them. My background is video game design, and we did a lot of 3D printing. So looking at all the figurines, I was looking at all the details, and just the whole display by itself is beautiful. It's beautiful. I really like it.
상상 in Korean means imagine. The tourism agency gave it that name, referring to the unlimited attractions Korea offers its foreign visitors.
Korea is like one of the most wired countries in the world. I think anybody who has not been to Korea will be very surprised when they come here and see just how technologically advanced Korea is.
And another fun marketing involves social networking services. The Pyeongchang 2018 mascots Suorang and Pandabi greet visitors with high fives. The High Five campaign brings out smiles and offers visitors winter accessories like gloves and hand warmers when they upload pictures of them giving high fives on their social media accounts.
Nowadays, the social media is like, it's also a part of one marketing.
The year of Pyeongchang 2018 is finally here, and marketing methods like these are popping up all over the country as the Winter Olympics gets closer and closer. 차상미, Arirang News.
A different magnitude of pride and responsibility is being felt by the residents of Pyeongchang as we welcome the year 2018.
And no doubt about it, Daniel, let's get a better feel for their excitement as they usher in a new year and gear up to host one of the world's biggest sporting events.
영광스럽게도 2018년 동계올림픽을 제가 사는 이 마을에서 개최하고 해서 좋고요. 그리고 이게 아주 성공적으로 잘 마무리가 돼가지고 인식이 오래 가서 대한민국뿐만 아니라 이 평창도 모든 사람들이 기억할 수 있는 장소로 나왔으면 좋겠습니다.
나이가 83세네요. 허리가 아파가지고 올자는 재우고 이러거든요. 그래도 좀 은근히 지내가서 올림픽을 제대로 잘 보고 이러고 최선을 다했으면 좋겠다 이겁니다.
I wish we all successfully finish the Olympic Games, and then we all be happy with it. So everybody come to this town. We wish that everybody get happy and wish a good finish to Olympic Games.
(2018년에는) 정말 좋은 일들만 많이 일어났으면 좋겠고요. 다들 저희 가족들 다 건강하고 행복하게 살았으면 좋겠어요. 2018년 화이팅!
한 달 용돈이 2만 원인데 3만 원으로 올라서 더 맛있는 걸 많이 사 먹었으면 좋겠습니다.
2018년 무술년이 아주 행복하게 좋은 일만 일어났으면 좋겠습니다.
2018년도에도 지금처럼 무사히 좋은 일 있었으면 좋겠고 좋은 인연 만났으면 좋겠습니다.
Very candid and introspective. Well, a new type of marketing is catching on here in Korea, I heard. Store employees used to tend to customers' needs, but now that help is provided by digital devices.
Called the Untapped Marketing, many anticipate this trend will expand even further, and our Park Hee-jun helps us gauge its potential.
Two kinds of baskets at the entrance. This is a rather uncommon scene for an ordinary cosmetics store. But the separate baskets serve a purpose. By choosing the I'll shop alone basket, customers can send a sign to employees that they want to be left alone to shop comfortably without interference.
We came up with the idea to help customers browse our products freely. When they hold a basket, we understand that they want to be left alone, so there's no discomfort on either side.
This is part of a growing marketing trend in Korea called Untapped Marketing. Combining the prefix un with contact, the term implies the refusal of person-to-person interaction. For distributors, that means selling products and services without confronting customers. This form of marketing reflects the increasingly individualistic nature of society, where people are finding it more difficult to trust others and prefer to be left alone.
People feel the need to maintain their privacy and are increasingly becoming cautious of confronting others, leading to an even more disconnected society.
And especially in Korea, where shop workers are usually friendly and engaging, sometimes overly attentive, customers can experience stress while shopping. With the aim of reducing such discomfort to boost customer satisfaction and sales, more and more brands are adopting untapped marketing. This popular cosmetics chain is also gaining interest for its own unique untapped service. One innovation is a smart table. Just by placing products on the screen, customers can get detailed information so that they can decide for themselves whether or not to make a purchase. What shop employees used to do in the past, untapped technology has replaced.
It's always been uncomfortable shopping at shops or department stores because of the employees. Untapped technology is preferable for a shy person like myself.
Before untapped technology, customers had to speak to employees to get information on certain products or get advice on what kind of makeup best suits them. But now they can simply use the smart table or the smart mirror that only requires their faces and a few swipes. Customers often like to try on makeup before purchasing cosmetics. But through facial recognition, the smart mirror allows them to see for themselves whether or not certain colors and styles look good on them. It saves time and effort while also helping them make accurate decisions. In another store, untapped marketing takes a different form.
이쪽은 이제 이렇게 궁금하신 상품을 이렇게 올려주시게 되면은 이 제품에 대한 이제 상세 정보나 상품평도 이제 보실 수 있으시고요.
Through RFID barcode, customers are directed to the company's mobile application where they can check out products, make purchases, and even have them delivered to their homes. The store is definitely not short-staffed. The difference here is that staff members don't approach customers unless they're asked for help.
We believe that our customers are more comfortable relying on the internet for information rather than relying on our employees, which is why we created this untapped service-based store. And to offer greater convenience for our customers, we plan to upgrade the technology to enhance the quality of our service.
And this trend is likely to become even more popular in 2018, especially if there are more features available for customers.
In the past, getting explanations from actual people was preferable, but now it's easier to assess information about products by browsing the internet, and it's easier to trust unmanned devices over people. There's a high possibility that this kind of untapped technology will be adopted on a larger scale.
If customers are offered a wider range of experiences, untapped services can be distinguished from pre-existing services. Companies need to shift away from focusing only on simple tasks, such as placing orders.
At present, untapped technology appears to be more of a fun thing to try out, rather than a general consumption trend. But in the coming years, as society becomes more individualistic and disconnected, there's only room for expansion in this field. The supermarkets and department stores of today may look completely different in the near future. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Some say one cannot think, love, or sleep well when one has not dined well. On that note, so let's take a peek at Gastronomy Korea for 2018. It's all about cost-emotiveness instead of cost-effectiveness.
And people are looking for something more than just a quick, affordable bite. In other words, hearty meals that warm you up in more ways than one. Our Won Jung-hwan explains further.
It's not just because I'm single and living alone. It's something that I'll always miss.
When I used to live with my family, I thought that it was something always prepared by my mother 3 times a day. But now since I'm living alone, it is difficult to prepare it for myself.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs has recently announced the keywords that will lead dining trends in 2018. After surveying over 3,000 people and analyzing consumption behavior, the ministry said the top keyword was cost-emotiveness. The word encompasses how visual design, restaurant atmosphere, and homemade recipes all add value to the dining experience. This restaurant in Seoul has been trying to attract customers through cost-emotiveness.
Considering the recent trend is dining out alone or eating in a small group, we wanted people to come anytime and enjoy a full-hearted, home-style cooked meal.
Everyone makes homemade meals differently, depending on the day, available ingredients, and number of people eating. But they often consist of rice, soup, and a couple of side dishes. A humble but warm-hearted meal. According to the owner, the number of restaurants that try to appeal to customers' sense of nostalgia is increasing, and home cooking style meals prepared with care and love can really hit the spot.
I live alone near this place, and I visit here often because the food is delicious, and most importantly, it feels similar to eating at home.
When people think of homemade meals, words like family and nostalgia spring to mind. And that nostalgia is often a memory of childhood meals cooked by a loving parent. But with more and more people eating fast and generic food, and Korea's food culture becoming more global and diverse, homemade meals have become harder to find. So now, many companies in the food industry are targeting consumers who are tired of mass-produced instant foods, and who crave homemade meals, or rather, are missing their family. But surprisingly, this trend is being led by the younger generation.
In some ways, the digital generation, those who ate the most instant food, are recalling a lot of their family memories, and they're changing their appetite to more home-cooked healthy meals.
집반찬 Laboratory prepares more than 100 homemade side dishes every day for all its customers across the nation. It produces meals following simple steps, first washing the meat and raw vegetables, then moving the ingredients to the next place where they are cooked, before being stored and sent out to customers. But despite this approach seeming like a production line, according to the CEO, the most important factor when preparing these foods is love.
We are trying to provide a homemade meal to customers so that everyone feels loved. That is why we pick fresh ingredients by ourselves and deliver right to our customers' doors.
The craving for these homemade foods comes from the desire to eat humble and warm side dishes, rather than fast food or instant food. One regular customer explained why they eat such food.
Actually, since I've been living alone for a while, I don't usually prepare a variety of side dishes. But every time I order these homemade-like meals, it feels like my mom prepared them for our family.
As the variety and availability of cheap instant food is increasing, the number of people cooking at home is on the decline. But while dining out on instant or processed food can satisfy our hunger, it might lack the warmth we feel when enjoying a home-cooked meal. This is what we mean by cost-emotiveness. With people leading faster and busier lives, fast food may seem like a good fit for those on a tight schedule. But sometimes it's better to slow down and enjoy life a bit by having a warm, filling homemade meal with loved ones. 원정환, 아리랑 뉴스.
안녕하세요, 더보이즈입니다. 다사다난했던 2017년이 벌써 다 지나갔습니다. 다가오는 2018년 시청자분들이 원하시는 모든 일 이루시길 저희 더보이즈가 응원하겠습니다. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
몬스타엑스 안녕하세요, 몬스타엑스입니다. 네, 여러분 2017년도 이렇게 한 해가 저물어 갔습니다. 네, 다가온 2018년 잘 맞이해 주시길 바라겠고요. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
네, 안녕하세요, 사멜입니다. 2017년은 저에게 정말 뜻깊은 해였고요. 이번에 오는 2018년 저는 꼭 여러분들께 멋진 모습으로 나타날 테니 여러분들도 꼭 좋은 일이 생겼으면 좋겠습니다. 여러분 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
And while passion and devotion to workplace has been and still are very much evident qualities in Korea, times are changing.
That's right. Being productive isn't about logging more time at the office. Carrying out required tasks during work hours and having time for self after punching out can help improve performance and health.
And in Korea, a new lingo is catching on called warabel, referring to work, life, and balance. And Lee Jung-yeon gets us better acquainted with the hot term that's trending for 2018.
A hot keyword trending in South Korea as 2018 approaches. warabel, a newly invented term for work-life balance. According to the book Trend Korea 2018, the warabel millennials are the younger generation of the working population born between 1988 and 1994 who prioritize work-life balance when judging the quality of a workplace.
Previous generations prioritized high salary and benefits, but the warabel generation looks at how much self-value they can also get from the job.
The expert attributes the rise of this trend to the general burnt-out state of overworked Koreans these days, as well as the public's greater interest in labor rights. To keep up with the trend, many companies are jumping on board to improve their working environment by implementing systems that make sure their employees have a set time away from the office. This is one of those places known for having a good work-life balance and high work satisfaction. While at some Korean workplaces, working overtime is considered a given, here at this chip manufacturing company, it's a rare scene. Yet, productivity levels steadily rise year after year.
I work 8 hours and leave right away so I can have a hobby. Some of my friends work 12-hour shifts, so they're too tired to do anything else.
A strict record of timestamps are kept to make sure employees aren't working unnecessary hours. Instead, they maximize productivity by adopting systems such as standing meetings to avoid long, unproductive meetings. Their system of flexible working hours allows employees to drop off their kids at school or even take classes before work.
After all, we work to live. We make sure employees have proper time off because they do better work when they're well rested.
According to Statistics Korea, total working hours at Korean companies decreased by around 14 hours a month compared to 10 years ago. The percentage of Korean companies carrying out flexible working hour systems also increased by 15 percentage points this year compared to 2 years ago. People in certain occupations, though, are not guaranteed a set amount of time off work. But as this full-time nurse proves, work-life balance can also be found with the right amount of willpower. After working in the emergency unit for over 10 years, she now works as a trauma program manager. She also happens to be a championship title holder in Muay Thai.
Work is important, but so is self-development. I force myself to put aside certain amount of time every day for it, as I would for meals.
Even when she was working long hours in her previous post, she always took the time to take classes for self-improvement, whether it was art or some sort of sport. Now she trains every evening at a nearby Muay Thai gym. She won her first national title 4 years after starting training and has picked up numerous global titles since.
Everyone discouraged her at the beginning because she started late. I think it's really hard to do two things at once, but she had a goal, so I admire her tenacity.
She once had a dream of becoming an athlete. Now Hyo-sun says she's somewhat achieved that dream, even with a full-time job.
I get rid of my stress from work through Muay Thai, and the sport is a vital part of my life now. I hope more people can find a passion outside of work. Life is short.
In the 21st century, people no longer define their life through work. Although making personal sacrifices for work still prevails in Korean society, experts say changing this outdated work culture will also benefit companies, as the warabel generation would work harder than anyone else given the right motivation. They also add that the fact that water bill is being actively discussed is a promising sign we are steering toward the right changes in society. Lee Jung-yeon, Arirang News.
The year 2017 has been a tumultuous 12-month period for many reasons, but here in the nation we're brimming with hope that this brand new year will be full of cause for celebrations.
The roller coaster year did have its upsides, though. The power of the people was felt. Average citizens came together as one to spearhead a necessary change armed only with the truth and the facts.
And battling complacency, to not simply assume we've done our part, would be an important task. And to strive to be informed, to let it be known when leaders lose their way.
We at Arirang will make sure you're kept in the know through the trials, tribulations, and triumphs in the new year. This has been Daniel Che wishing you an incredible 2018.
And I'm Shin Se-min. Thank you for staying with us, and Happy New Year, everyone.